The gunshot echoed 3 floors below. Ivy froze halfway up the marble staircase, champagne flute trembling in her hand. The crystal chandeliers above swayed, just barely, but enough to send shadows dancing across gilded walls like warnings she couldn't read. Hey, beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Before we dive into this story, drop a comment and let me know, where in the world are you watching from? I love connecting with you all. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do me a huge favor and hit that button now, you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me. This one's intense. Now, back to Ivy. She shouldn't have been there. The Ravello estate wasn't a place for art students who waitressed on weekends to afford rent. It was a fortress disguised as elegance, where Italy's most dangerous men gathered under the pretense of charity galas and champagne toasts. Her roommate Mia had begged her to come, to wear something stunning, to forget about deadlines and debt for one night. You'll blend in, Mia had promised. Just smile, sip champagne, and enjoy the atmosphere. But Ivy had never been good at blending in. The red dress clung to her like a second skin, silk that shimmered under lights she didn't understand were meant to expose, not illuminate. She'd thought it was beautiful. Elegant. She hadn't known that in this world, women wore black to disappear. Red was a declaration. And declarations got you killed. The ballroom stretched before her like a chessboard of wealth and violence. Women dripped in diamonds worth more than her student loans. Men in tailored suits spoke in languages she recognized but couldn't decode, Italian laced with implications, English stripped of warmth. Everyone moved with purpose. Everyone belonged. Everyone except her. She descended the final steps, bare shoulders catching the light. Conversations didn't stop, not exactly. But eyes shifted. Predatory. Calculating. She felt them like fingertips dragging across her skin without permission. Asterisk bellissima asterisk, someone murmured. Another voice, darker, asterisk chi a lei, asterisk, who is she? Ivy's pulse hammered. She searched for Mia's blonde head in the crowd, but the room had swallowed her friend whole. She was alone. Exposed. Every instinct screamed to turn around, to run back to her dorm and swear off adventure forever. Then she felt him. Before she saw him. Before she understood what it meant to be seen by a man like Enzo Carbone. He stood near the far wall, half shadowed by marble columns, a glass of scotch untouched in his hand. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Dark hair swept back with the kind of precision that suggested control over everything, including himself. His suit was black, impeccably tailored, but it was his eyes that stopped her heart. Cold. Assessing. Lethal. And locked directly on her. The room shifted. She couldn't explain it, the way conversation seemed to hollow out around him, the way even the most powerful men angled their bodies in deference without realizing it. He didn't move. Didn't speak. But authority radiated from him like heat from a flame. Enzo Carbone. She didn't know his name yet, but she'd learn it soon enough. What she did know, what her body understood before her mind caught up, was that he was dangerous. The kind of dangerous that made survival instincts scream and curiosity whisper. His jaw tightened. Just barely. A muscle ticked beneath his temple. Then he moved. Not toward her, not yet. His gaze flicked to the left, where 2 men in expensive suits had begun gravitating in her direction. Their smiles were polished. Their intentions weren't. Enzo's expression didn't change, but something darker flickered behind his eyes, something that made the temperature in the room drop. Ivy didn't see him give the signal. Didn't catch the subtle tilt of his head. But the 2 men stopped mid-stride, their predatory grins faltering as if they'd walked into an invisible wall. They retreated. Without a word. Without explanation. That's when she understood, whoever he was, he controlled more than just himself. He controlled them. All of them. And now, he was walking toward her. Each step was measured. Deliberate. The crowd parted without him asking, a sea of wealth and danger splitting down the middle as if God himself had commanded it. Women watched with envy. Men with calculation. But no one dared approach. Ivy's breath caught. She should run. Every rational cell in her body screamed it. But her feet had become marble, rooted to the floor as he closed the distance between them with the inevitability of a storm rolling in. He stopped inches away. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp cheekbones. A jaw that could cut glass. Eyes so dark they swallowed light and secrets. The faint scar cutting through his left eyebrow told stories she'd never be brave enough to ask about. You don't belong here. His voice was low. Rough. Italian accent curling around English words like smoke. It wasn't a question. Ivy's voice cracked. She cleared her throat, forced herself to meet his gaze even though every instinct told her to look away. My friend invited me. Your friend made a mistake. Before she could respond, before she could process the insult or the warning, he shrugged out of his jacket in one fluid motion. The room went silent. Not the polite hush of anticipation. The suffocating silence of held breath. Of fear. Of witnesses watching something that would be whispered about for years. Enzo draped the jacket over her shoulders, his hands lingering just long enough for her to feel the heat of his palms through silk. The coat swallowed her, heavy, warm, smelling of cedar and something darker. Dangerous. His fingers brushed her collarbone. Deliberate. Possessive. Then he leaned in, his lips inches from her ear, voice dropping to a growl that vibrated through her bones. Asterisk asterisk no one sees that but her, asterisk asterisk. Not a request. A command. The music faltered. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered, crystal exploding against marble like punctuation. Ivy couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. His proximity overwhelmed everything, sanity, self-preservation, the basic understanding that she was standing in the epicenter of something catastrophic. She didn't know why his touch felt like safety instead of threat. Didn't understand why her pulse raced for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. But she knew this. Enzo Carbone had just claimed her in front of everyone who mattered. And in this world, claims were written in blood. He pulled back slowly, his gaze sweeping the room with cold authority. Men lowered their eyes. Women turned away. The message was clear, brutal, absolute. She was his. Enzo's hand settled at the small of her back, firm, unmistakable, and he guided her through the crowd with the same precision he'd used across the room. No one spoke. No one dared. Ivy's mind spun. I don't understand. You will, he murmured, his tone softer now but no less dangerous. But not here. They reached a side exit she hadn't noticed before, a door camouflaged by shadows and velvet drapes. He opened it with one hand, the other never leaving her spine, and ushered her into a dimly lit corridor. The door closed behind them. Silence. Just her heartbeat. His breathing. The distant hum of the Gala continuing without them. Ivy turned to face him, the jacket still warm around her shoulders. Who are you? Enzo's expression remained unreadable. But something flickered in his eyes, recognition, maybe. Or regret. Someone you should have never met. The corridor stretched into darkness, lit only by sconces that cast amber shadows across oil paintings of men who looked like they'd killed for less than a glance. Ivy's fingers clutched Enzo's jacket tighter around her shoulders, her mind racing to catch up with a reality that had shifted too fast. One moment she'd been a broke art student trying to survive a fancy party. The next, she was standing alone with a man whose name she didn't know but whose presence felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, terrifying and magnetic in equal measure. "You can't just," she started, but Enzo raised one hand. Silence fell like a guillotine. He tilted his head, listening. After 3 heartbeats, he relaxed, barely, and gestured toward a heavy oak door at the corridor's end. "Inside. Now." It wasn't a suggestion. Ivy's pulse hammered against her ribs, but she moved. Survival instinct warred with curiosity, and curiosity, reckless, stupid curiosity, won. She stepped through the doorway into what could only be described as a throne room disguised as an office. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A mahogany desk that probably cost more than her entire education. Leather chairs positioned with strategic precision. And windows, massive, overlooking the estate's gardens where moonlight painted everything silver and dangerous. Enzo closed the door behind them. Locked it. The click echoed. "Sit," he commanded, moving toward a crystal decanter on the sidebar. "I'd rather stand." Ivy's voice came out steadier than she felt. "Small victory." Enzo's mouth curved, not quite a smile, but close. "You'd rather run." "That too." He poured 2 glasses of amber liquid, then turned to face her fully. In the low light, he looked like something carved from shadow and violence. Beautiful in the way storms were beautiful, devastating and impossible to look away from. "What's your name?" His accent wrapped around the question like velvet over steel. "Ivy." She paused. "Ivy Monroe." "Ivy." He repeated it slowly, as if testing how it felt in his mouth. Then he crossed the room and offered her one of the glasses. "Drink. You'll need it." She didn't take it. "I don't even know who you are." "Yes, you do." His eyes, God, those eyes, held hers with an intensity that made breathing difficult. "Your instincts told you the moment you saw me. I'm the man mothers warn their daughters about. The one good girls cross the street to avoid. And yet you threw your coat over me like some kind of," she struggled for words. "Like I needed protecting." "You did." "From what?" Enzo's jaw tightened. He set both glasses down on the desk with deliberate care, then moved to the window, his back to her. The moonlight caught the sharp line of his shoulders, the tension coiled in every muscle. "This world," he said quietly, "operates on rules you don't understand. Power. Territory. Respect. When you walked into that ballroom wearing red." He turned, and something in his expression made her stomach flip. "You might as well have painted a target on your back." Ivy's throat went dry. "I didn't know." "Exactly." He crossed back to her in 3 strides, stopping close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, smell the cedar and gunpowder that clung to him. "You're innocent. That makes you dangerous." "To who?" "To me." The confession hung between them like lightning before thunder. Ivy's breath caught. She should be terrified. Should be calculating escape routes and texting Mia to call the police. But instead, she found herself leaning forward, drawn by something she couldn't name. "Why did you help me?" she whispered. Enzo's hand rose, slowly, giving her time to pull away, and his fingers brushed a strand of dark hair from her face. The touch was gentle. Reverent. Completely at odds with the violence she sensed coiled beneath his surface. "Because," he murmured, "the moment I saw you, I knew you'd be my ruin." The confession should have sent her running. Instead, Ivy felt something dangerous unfurl in her chest, want, laced with curiosity and the kind of recklessness that got people killed in stories like this. "I don't understand any of this," she admitted. "Good." Enzo's thumb traced her jawline, then dropped away as if the contact burned him. He stepped back, creating distance that felt both necessary and unbearable. Go home, Ivy Monroe. Forget tonight happened. Forget me. And if I can't? His expression darkened. Then you're more foolish than I thought. A sharp knock interrupted whatever she might have said next. Enzo's entire demeanor shifted, from almost tender to absolutely lethal in a heartbeat. Enter, he commanded. The door opened to reveal a man in his 30s, dark suit, cold eyes, and a shoulder holster he didn't bother hiding. His gaze flicked to Ivy, assessed her in 2 seconds, then returned to Enzo. We have a problem, he said in Italian. Enzo responded in the same language, rapid fire and sharp. Ivy caught fragments, betrayal North District, 20 minutes, but the meaning eluded her. The man nodded once and disappeared. Enzo turned back to her, and for the first time, she saw something like regret in his features. I need to handle something. Luca will take you home. Luca? My driver. He'll ensure you arrive safely. Enzo moved to the desk, scrawled something on a business card, then pressed it into her palm. His fingers lingered against hers. If anyone asks about tonight, anyone, you tell them you were never here. Understood? Ivy looked down at the card. Just a phone number. No name. No explanation. What if I need to reach you? The question escaped before she could stop it. Enzo's expression softened, just barely. Then you call that number. But Ivy. He waited until she met his eyes. I hope to God you never do. Luca drove like the devil himself was chasing them. Ivy gripped the leather seat of the black Mercedes, her heart still racing from everything that had happened in the past hour. The city blurred past, neon signs, empty streets, shadows that seemed too dark to be natural. You should forget him, Luca said suddenly, his English thick with accent. Mr. Carbone, he is not for girls like you. Girls like me? Innocenti star. Innocent. He met her eyes in the rearview mirror. In his world, that gets you killed. Ivy wanted to argue, but the business card in her pocket felt like a live grenade. She'd memorized the number already, 10 digits that represented a door she knew she shouldn't open. They pulled up to her apartment building, a shabby walk-up in a neighborhood that made Enzo's estate look like another planet. Luca got out, opened her door with surprising courtesy, then handed her a small black phone. What's this? Protection. Mr. Carbone insists. He wouldn't meet her eyes. You pressed the red button, we come. Always. Before she could process that, he was back in the Mercedes, disappearing into the night like he'd never existed. Ivy stood on the sidewalk, Enzo's jacket still around her shoulders, holding a phone that shouldn't exist and remembering the way his voice had cracked when he called her his ruin. She should throw the phone away. Should burn the business card. Should do exactly what he'd said and forget tonight ever happened. Instead, she climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked the door, and found Mia passed out on the couch, mascara smudged and heels discarded. Normal. Safe. Boring. Everything Enzo wasn't. Ivy moved to her bedroom, set the phone on her nightstand, and changed out of the red dress. But she kept the jacket. Wrapped herself in it. Let the scent of cedar and danger lull her into restless sleep. 3 days later, everything shattered. Ivy was leaving her afternoon art class when she noticed him, a man in a gray suit, watching from across the quad. Not subtle. Not trying to be. Her stomach dropped. She walked faster. He matched her pace. By the time she reached the parking lot, her heart was hammering. She fumbled for her keys, dropped them, cursed. A hand closed around her arm. Ivy Monroe. The man's voice was smooth, American, wrong. We need to talk. Let go. Walk with me. Don't make a scene. His grip tightened. Unless you want your friend Mia to have an unfortunate accident. Ice flooded her veins. He guided her toward a black SUV, and every step felt like walking toward her own grave. This was it. This was how she died. Because she'd worn the wrong dress to the wrong party and caught the attention of the wrong. The SUV's back window exploded. Gunfire erupted, 3 shots, precise and deadly. The man holding her crumpled, his grip releasing as he fell. Blood bloomed across expensive fabric. Ivy screamed. Strong arms caught her, spun her around. She looked up into familiar dark eyes. I told you to forget me, Enzo said, his voice rough with something that might have been fear. Behind him, Luca and 2 other men secured the scene with military efficiency. I tried. Not hard enough. He pulled her against his chest, one hand cradling the back of her head. His heart thundered against her ear. They know about you now. That means you're coming with me. Who's they? Enzo pulled back just enough to look at her, and what she saw in his expression made her knees weak. Rage. Protectiveness. And underneath it all, something that looked dangerously close to fear. Everyone who wants me dead, he said simply. Which, cara mia, is a very long list. Another car screeched to a halt, this one Enzo's Mercedes. Luca jumped out, door already open. Now, Ivy. Enzo's hand found hers, fingers intertwining with desperate strength. Trust me or die. Choose. She looked at the dead man on the pavement. At the student starting to notice. At Enzo's outstretched hand, calloused, blood-stained, offering salvation or damnation, she couldn't tell which. Ivy took his hand. The safe house wasn't what Ivy expected. No dingy warehouse or abandoned building. Instead, Enzo brought her to a penthouse overlooking the city, all marble floors, modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows that made her feel exposed despite being 40 stories up. You'll stay here until I neutralize the threat. Enzo moved through the space like he owned it, which, she realized, he probably did. Luca and his team will rotate shifts. You don't leave. You don't call anyone. You don't exist. Ivy interrupted, anger finally cutting through shock. You can't just kidnap me and expect. Kidnap? Enzo spun to face her, and the raw emotion in his expression stopped her mid-sentence. I saved your life. That man was going to put a bullet in your head the moment he got you in that SUV. Because of you. Her voice cracked. I was nobody. I was safe until you walked into my world wearing red like a goddamn beacon. He closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands gripping her shoulders. Not rough. Desperate. Do you understand what you've become? Your leverage, Ivy. A weakness they'll exploit until there's nothing left of you. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Then why not just let me go? Give me money, send me far away. Because they'll find you. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. And when they do, they'll make you suffer just to hurt me. I can't. He released her, stepped back, ran a hand through his dark hair. I won't let that happen. The vulnerability in his admission cracked something in her chest. This wasn't just about protection. This was personal. Who are they? She asked quietly. Enzo moved to the window, his silhouette sharp against the city lights. The Romano family. My enemies for 3 generations. They've been looking for a way to destroy me for years. He glanced over his shoulder. Congratulations, Bella. You just became their favorite weapon. The first night was unbearable. Ivy paced the penthouse like a caged animal while Luca stood guard outside, silent as a statue. Enzo had left hours ago, business he wouldn't explain, and the silence pressed down like water filling her lungs. She thought about calling Mia. About her classes. About the normal life that felt like a fever dream now. Instead, she explored. The penthouse revealed more questions than answers. A locked room Luca refused to discuss. Bookshelves filled with Italian literature and military strategy. A photograph on the mantel, Enzo, younger, smiling beside an older man who had the same sharp eyes. His father, Luca said from the doorway, making her jump. Murdered 6 years ago. Romano bullet. Ivy set the photo down carefully. Is that why he kills? Luca's expression remained neutral. Mr. Carbone does what's necessary. Nothing more. But Ivy heard the lie in his voice. Saw it in the way Luca's gaze lingered on the photograph with something close to grief. Enzo wasn't just dangerous. He was damaged. And God help her, that made him even harder to resist. Day 3, Enzo returned. Ivy was sketching, nervous energy channeled into charcoal lines, when she heard the elevator. She looked up to find him watching her from the entrance, his suit jacket gone, shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and scattered scars. You draw. Not a question. When I'm stressed. She set down the charcoal. Which, considering I'm trapped in a golden cage, is constantly. Something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe. He crossed to her, looked down at the sketch pad, and went very still. She'd drawn him. From memory. Every sharp angle and shadow, every hint of violence and vulnerability she'd glimpsed. You see too much, he murmured. Maybe you hide too little. Their eyes met. The air between them shifted, charged, dangerous, inevitable. Enzo reached out, his thumb brushing charcoal dust from her cheek. The touch lingered. His gaze dropped to her mouth. This is a mistake, he said, but he didn't pull away. Then stop. I can't. The confession sounded like agony. Dio mio aiuti, I can't. He kissed her. Not gentle. Not careful. Like a man drowning who'd finally found air. His hand cupped her jaw, tilting her head back as he claimed her mouth with devastating thoroughness. Ivy's sketch pad clattered to the floor, forgotten. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer even as her mind screamed warnings she couldn't hear over her thundering heart. This was madness. Danger. Everything she should run from. But when Enzo's lips moved to her neck, when his breath hitched against her skin, when he whispered her name like a prayer, she stopped thinking altogether. We can't do this, Enzo said an hour later. They'd somehow ended up on the couch, her tucked against his chest, his fingers tracing absent patterns on her shoulder. The city glittered below them, oblivious to the world shifting in this room. Why not? Ivy asked, though she knew the answer. Because caring about you makes you a target. Because every enemy I have will use you to break me. Because, his voice cracked. Because I'm not a good man, Ivy. I've done things that would make you run screaming. She tilted her head to look up at him. Tell me. No. Enzo. I've killed 17 men. The words came out flat. Clinical. Some deserved it. Some were just in the way. I've orchestrated deals that destroyed families. I've built my empire on blood and fear and you saved me. Ivy sat up, forcing him to meet her eyes. Twice now. You could have let me die. Could have walked away. But you didn't. That doesn't make me good. That makes me selfish. His hand cupped her face with heartbreaking gentleness. I want you, Kara. More than I've wanted anything. But wanting you doesn't change what I am. Then let me decide. She leaned into his palm. Let me choose you, consequences and all. The war in his expression was brutal. Want battling responsibility. Desire fighting wisdom. Finally, he kissed her forehead. Ask me again in a week. When you've seen what my world really looks like. If you still want this. He pulled back, stood, put distance between them like it physically hurt. If you still want me after that, I won't fight it anymore. Day 5 shattered every illusion Ivy had left. Enzo brought her to a meeting. Not because he wanted to, his jaw had been tight all morning, but because staying at the penthouse had become too dangerous. The Romanos had found the location. They were moving. Stay close, he'd commanded. Don't speak. Don't react. Just, survive. Now she sat in a warehouse that smelled of oil and old blood, surrounded by men who looked at her like she was either a trophy or a corpse in waiting. Enzo sat at the head of a scarred table, every inch the king of this violent kingdom. The meeting was conducted in rapid Italian. But Ivy didn't need translation to understand the tension. The way hands drifted toward concealed weapons. The way eyes kept cutting to Enzo, waiting for judgment. Then a man was dragged in. Bloodied. Beaten. Barely conscious. Ivy's stomach turned. He sold information to the Romanos, Luca explained quietly from beside her. About you. About the safe house. The betrayer's eyes found Enzo's. Please, I have a family. So did my father. Enzo's voice was ice. He stood, moved around the table with predatory grace, and crouched before the man. You knew what betrayal costs. You chose it anyway. Enzo, please. The gunshot was deafening. Ivy flinched, her hands flying to her mouth to trap the scream. The man slumped forward, lifeless. Blood pooled across concrete. Enzo holstered his weapon, turned, and his gaze found hers across the warehouse. This was what he tried to warn her about. This was the monster beneath the man who'd kissed her like she was air. Clean this up, he ordered, already moving toward her. We're leaving. Ivy couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The body, God, the body. Enzo's hand closed around her elbow, firm but not cruel. Not here. Come. She let him guide her outside, into an alley where rain had started to fall. The moment they were alone, she pulled away, stumbling backward. You killed him. Yes. Just like that. Without hesitation. Enzo's expression was unreadable. That's who I am, Ivy. That's the man you said you wanted to choose. Tears mixed with rain on her face. He had a family. He sold you out. His family will be compensated. Provided for. But he made his choice. Enzo stepped closer, and she saw it then, the exhaustion beneath the ice, the weight he carried. In my world, betrayal has one price. If I'd shown mercy, I'd be dead within a week. Everyone I protect would be dead. Including you. There has to be another way. There isn't. His hand reached for her, then dropped. This is what ruling through fear looks like. This is how I keep the people I care about alive. And I'm sorry you had to see it, but I won't apologize for doing what's necessary. Ivy wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. Not just from cold. From the brutal realization that Enzo was right, she'd seen him now. Really seen him. The killer. The king. The man built from violence and survival. And the most terrifying part. She still wanted him. I need time, she whispered. Pain flashed across his features. I'll take you back. No. She looked up at him through tears and rain. I need time to think. Not to run. Not yet. Something like hope flickered in his dark eyes. Ivy. Her phone, the black one Luca had given her, buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, confused. Only one person had this number. The text was from an unknown contact: leave him or your friend Mia dies. You have 48 hours. Below it, a photo. Mia, unconscious, tied to a chair. Ivy's world tilted. Enzo saw her expression, snatched the phone, and his face went cold as marble. Romano. They have Mia. Ivy's voice broke. Because of me. Because I. No. Enzo pulled her against him, one hand cradling her head. Because of me. This is my fault. But I swear on everything I am, we're getting her back. How? He pulled back, and the look in his eyes made her blood run cold. By giving them exactly what they want. The plan was suicide dressed as strategy. Enzo laid it out in the penthouse's war room, a space Ivy hadn't known existed until Luca unlocked the door to reveal walls covered in maps, photographs, and enough weapons to start a small war. Romano wants you. Enzo's finger traced a location on the map, an abandoned textile factory on the river. We give you to him. Ivy's blood turned to ice. What? Not really. He looked up, and she saw the calculation in his eyes. The cold logic that made him dangerous. You wear a wire. We track you. The moment Romano reveals Mia's location, my team moves in. And if he doesn't? Her voice shook. If he just kills me? He won't. Enzo's jaw tightened. Not immediately. He'll want to parade you. Use you to draw me out. That gives us a window. A window to what? Watch me die. No asterisk, the word cracked like a whip. Enzo crossed to her in 3 strides, his hands framing her face. I will burn this entire city down before I let him touch you. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Ivy wanted to say no. Wanted to scream that this was insane, that there had to be another way. But Mia's terrified face in that photograph haunted her. 48 hours, she whispered. We don't have time for another plan. Then we move tonight. 6 hours later, Ivy stood in the middle of the textile factory, alone. The wire taped between her shoulder blades felt like ice. The tracking device in her shoe felt like a death sentence. Moonlight cut through broken windows, painting everything silver and wrong. He's late, she murmured, knowing Enzo could hear her through the wire. Patience, Kara, his voice crackled in her ear, the tiny receiver hidden beneath her hair. He's testing you. Stay calm, Easy for him to say. He wasn't standing in the middle of a kill zone. Footsteps echoed. 3 men emerged from the shadows, automatic weapons held with casual expertise. Behind them, a 4th figure, older, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Ivy's life. Dante Romano. She'd seen his photograph in Enzo's files. 2nd-generation Mafia, brutal reputation, 3 decades of blood on his hands. Miss Monroe. His voice was smooth, cultured. Everything Enzo's wasn't. Thank you for being so accommodating. Where's Mia? Ivy forced steel into her voice. Safe. For now. Romano circled her like a shark. You're prettier than the photograph suggested. I can see why Carbone lost his mind. I don't know what you. Please. He stopped directly in front of her. Don't insult my intelligence. Enzo doesn't protect civilians. He doesn't throw his coat over random women. And he certainly doesn't kill his own men for betraying someone unless that someone matters. Ivy's heart hammered. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Romano's smile was poison. Enzo Carbone broken. And you, my dear, are the perfect weapon. His hand shot out, gripped her chin. Forced her to meet his eyes. Enzo, don't, she gasped, knowing he was listening, knowing he'd be going insane. Oh, he can't hear you anymore. Romano released her, pulled a small device from his pocket. A jammer. The moment you walked in, all signals died. Very clever, wearing a wire. But I've been doing this longer than your lover's been alive. Terror clawed up Ivy's throat. You said Mia was safe. I lied. Romano nodded to one of his men, who tossed a phone at Ivy's feet. She picked it up with shaking hands. The screen showed a live feed. Mia. Still tied up. But not alone anymore. A man stood behind her, gun pressed to her temple. No. One bullet, Romano said conversationally. That's all it takes. Your friend dies unless Enzo walks through that door in the next 10 minutes. Alone. Unarmed. He won't. He will. Romano's confidence was absolute. Because men like Carbone have a fatal flaw. They care. And caring makes you weak. Ivy's mind raced. The wire was dead. The tracker might be jammed too. Enzo had no way of knowing what was happening. Unless she made him know. You're wrong, she said quietly. Romano raised an eyebrow. Excuse me. Caring doesn't make him weak. Ivy straightened, channeling every ounce of courage she didn't feel. It makes him unstoppable. And when he comes for me, and he will, you're going to wish you'd killed me when you had the chance. Romano's smile vanished. His hand moved to his weapon. The factory exploded. Not literally. But close enough. Windows shattered inward as Enzo's team rappelled through on cables, black-clad, heavily armed, moving with military precision. Gunfire erupted. Romano's men scattered. Chaos consumed everything. Ivy hit the ground, covered her head, and prayed. Then strong hands gripped her shoulders, hauled her up. Enzo. Blood on his face, fury in his eyes, very much alive. Run. He shoved her toward Luca, who materialized from smoke and shadows. But before Ivy could move, Romano's voice cut through the chaos. One step, Carbone, and the girl dies. Everyone froze. Romano had Mia. Gun to her head. His men might be outgunned, but he had the leverage that mattered. Let Ivy go, Romano commanded. Or I paint these walls with your girlfriend's friend. Enzo's expression went dead. The killer Ivy had seen in the warehouse, cold, calculating, merciless, emerged fully. You think I care about some college girl? His voice was ice. She's nothing. Collateral damage. The words hit Ivy like bullets. Romano frowned. You expect me to believe? Believe what you want. Enzo raised his weapon, aimed it directly at Ivy. She served her purpose. Brought you out of hiding. Now she's useless. Ivy's breath stopped. He wouldn't. He couldn't. Their eyes met across the chaos. And she saw it. The microscopic nod. The desperate plea in his gaze. Trust me. You're bluffing, Romano said. Am I? Enzo's finger moved to the trigger. Time fractured. Ivy threw herself sideways just as Enzo fired, the bullet passing exactly where her head had been and slamming into Romano's shoulder. The Mafia boss staggered, his grip on Mia loosening. Luca moved like lightning, tackling Mia away from danger. But Romano wasn't finished. With his good hand, he raised his weapon, aimed at Ivy's heart. Enzo roared, lunged forward. The shot echoed. Everything stopped. Pain exploded across Ivy's ribs. Not from a bullet, from Enzo's body slamming into hers, taking her to the ground as Romano's shot went wide. They hit concrete hard, Enzo covering her completely, his weight crushing but somehow comforting. More gunfire. Shouting. The wet sound of bodies hitting the floor. Then silence. Enzo lifted his head, searched her face frantically. Are you hit? No. No, Ivy's voice cracked. Mia. Safe. Luca has her. His hands roamed over her body, checking for injuries despite her protests. You jumped. You actually jumped when You told me to trust you. She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. So I did. Something broke in his expression. Relief. Gratitude. Love so raw it hurt to witness. *Dio**, he breathed, and kissed her. Right there. In the middle of carnage and chaos. Like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to sanity. Boss. Luca's voice cut through. We need to move. Police are 2 minutes out. Enzo pulled back, helped Ivy to her feet. Around them, his team worked with brutal efficiency, securing Romano's surviving men, erasing evidence, moving like ghosts. Romano himself was being dragged toward a van, wounded but alive. He caught Ivy's eye and smiled, bloody, defiant. This isn't over, Piccola. He'll destroy you eventually. They all do. Enzo's hand tightened on Ivy's waist. The only one getting destroyed is you. Slowly. Painfully. And I'm going to enjoy every second. Romano laughed. There's the monster I know. Show her that side enough, Carbone, and she'll run. Enzo's fist connected with Romano's jaw, silencing him. Take him to the warehouse. I'll deal with him later. They moved. Enzo kept Ivy close as they navigated through shadows and back alleys to a waiting car. Mia was already inside, wrapped in a blanket, crying but alive. Ivy. She launched herself forward, and Ivy caught her, held tight. You're okay. You're safe now. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Mia sobbed. They grabbed me outside class and I didn't know. Shoo. Not your fault. Ivy looked over Mia's head at Enzo, who watched from the front seat with unreadable eyes. The drive back was silent except for Mia's muffled crying. Ivy held her friend, but her gaze kept drifting to Enzo's reflection in the rearview mirror. The blood on his collar. The bruises forming on his jaw. The weight he carried like armor. He'd almost died tonight. For her. They'd both almost died. And somehow, they'd survived. Back at the penthouse, Enzo's private doctor tended to Mia while Ivy paced, adrenaline still crackling through her veins. She'll be fine, the doctor assured them. Mild dehydration, some bruising. Physically, she's unharmed. Thank you, Dr. Costa. Enzo pressed cash into the man's hand, far more than necessary, and showed him out. The door closed. Silence fell like a curtain. Ivy turned to find Enzo watching her, his expression raw. Exhausted. Human in a way she'd never seen. You could have died, she whispered. So could you. I'm serious, Enzo. When Romano fired. I know. He crossed to her, movement slower now. Tired. I saw my entire world end in that second. Ivy's breath hitched. Enzo. You want me to let you go? It wasn't a question. After what you saw tonight. What you've been through. You want out. No. The word came out fierce. I want in. He went still. What? You asked me to choose. Ivy stepped closer, placed her palm over his heart. Felt it racing. A week ago, you said to ask you again after I'd seen your world. Well, I've seen it. The violence. The danger. The impossible choices. And I'm still here. Ivy. I'm not naive anymore. She held his gaze. I know what being with you costs. I know the risks. But tonight, when you aimed that gun at me, when you needed me to trust you without proof, I did. Without hesitation. That's not fear, Enzo. That's love, he finished, voice breaking on the word. You're saying you love me? Yes. Tears spilled over. I'm terrified and it's insane and we've known each other less than 2 weeks, but yes, I love you. Enzo's composure shattered. He pulled her against him, buried his face in her hair, and she felt him shake, this powerful, dangerous man trembling in her arms. I'll spend the rest of my life keeping you safe, he swore against her skin. I'll burn down anyone who threatens you. You'll let me choose this. Ivy pulled back, cupped his face. Every day. Not because you're forcing me or protecting me. But because I want this. Want you. All of you. His thumb traced her bottom lip. Even the monster. Especially the monster. She smiled through tears. Because he's mine. Enzo kissed her then, tender and desperate and full of promises neither could afford but both would die defending. Outside, the city glittered, oblivious to the war just won. Inside, 2 broken people found something neither expected. Hope. 3 days after the warehouse, war came to Enzo's doorstep. Romano hadn't gone quietly. From his cell in Enzo's private holding facility, he'd sent word to every enemy, every rival family, every mercenary with a grudge. The message was simple: kill Enzo Carbone, and the entire Eastern Territory is yours. 17 contracts, Luca reported grimly, spreading photographs across the dining table. All active. All expensive. Ivy stared at the faces, cold eyes, brutal histories, men who killed for sport. How do we stop them? We don't. Enzo's voice was calm. Too calm. We end this at the source. He looked at Ivy, and she saw the decision already made. Romano dies tonight. Her stomach dropped. Not because she disagreed, Romano had proven he'd never stop, but because of what it meant. Enzo would have to become the monster completely. No mercy. No hesitation. I'm coming with you, she said. Absolutely not. You don't get to protect me from this. Ivy stood, met his gaze with steel. I chose this life. That means I see all of it. Even the parts that break me. Enzo's jaw worked. Ivy. Please. She moved to him, took his hands. Don't shut me out. Not now. The war in his expression was brutal. Finally, he nodded. You stay in the car. Behind bulletproof glass. The moment anything goes wrong. I know. She squeezed his hands. I trust you. The warehouse where Romano was held smelled of rust and old fear. Ivy sat in the Mercedes, windows tinted, watching Enzo disappear inside flanked by 6 armed men. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Minutes stretched like hours. Then gunfire erupted. Not from inside. From behind. The rear window exploded, bulletproof glass spiderwebbing but holding. Ivy screamed, threw herself sideways as more shots rang out. The driver slumped forward, blood blooming across his shoulder. Asterisk no 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 asterisk, Ivy grabbed for the black phone, hit the red button. Asterisk Enzo, asterisk. The passenger door ripped open. A man she didn't recognize lunged in, grabbed her ankle, dragged her across leather seats. Ivy kicked, screamed, clawed, her nails drew blood but he didn't stop. Pretty thing, he growled in accented English. Romano's gonna love watching you. The man's head snapped back. Enzo stood behind him, gun raised, expression carved from nightmares. He fired twice more, center mass, no hesitation, and the attacker crumpled. Are you hurt? Enzo pulled Ivy from the car, hands frantically checking her for injuries. I'm fine, but the driver. Luca's handling it. His gaze swept their surroundings, shadows crawling with threats. They knew we'd come. Someone tipped them off. Another traitor. Another betrayal. But Ivy saw something else in Enzo's eyes now. Not just rage. Clarity. We end this, he said. Right now. All of it. He pulled out his phone, made 3 calls in rapid Italian. Orders given. Pieces moved. A chess game played with human lives. What are you doing? Ivy asked. Calling in every debt. Every favor. Every ally I have. He looked at her, and the love in his gaze made her breath catch. I'm not living in a world where you're constantly in danger. So I'm burning down everyone who threatens you. Enzo. Stay close. He kept her hand locked in his as they moved back toward the warehouse. Whatever you see, whatever happens, remember I love you. Remember this is all for you. Inside, Romano waited, still chained, still bleeding, but smiling like he'd already won. Carbone. Come to finish the job. No. Enzo's voice was ice. I came to offer you a deal. Romano laughed. What could you possibly? Your life for every contract. Call them off. All 17. Or I make your death last weeks. You think I'm afraid of you? I think you're afraid of obscurity. Enzo crouched to Romano's level. You die here, tonight, forgotten. Or you live, in a cell, powerless, but alive. Your family's legacy intact. Your name remembered. It was genius. Cruel and brilliant. Romano's smile faltered. You're bluffing. Am I? Enzo stood, drew his weapon. Ivy, close your eyes. Wait. Romano's voice cracked. Wait. I'll call them off. Enzo's expression didn't change. Phone. Now. Luca provided one. Romano made the calls, 7 of them, each a contract cancelled, each a death sentence lifted. With every call, Ivy felt the noose around Enzo's neck loosen. When it was done, Romano looked up with hateful eyes. You'll regret this. Letting me live. No. Enzo's smile was pure predator. You'll regret it. Every day. Knowing you lost. Knowing he gestured to Ivy, mattered more than your pride. Knowing a civilian brought down your empire. He turned to his men. Take him to the federal prosecutor. Full immunity for testimony against the Rossi family, the De Lucas, everyone. He talks, or the deal's off. Romano's face went white. Betraying other families was a death sentence, slower and more painful than anything Enzo could deliver. You bastard. But Enzo was already walking away, pulling Ivy with him toward the exit where dawn was breaking. Outside, the city woke up, oblivious to the war just ended, the monster just caged, the love just proven stronger than violence. Enzo stopped, turned to Ivy, and cupped her face with blood-stained hands. "It's over," he whispered. "Finally over. What happens now?" His smile was soft. "Real. Now, cara mia, we live." 6 months later. The art gallery opening was everything Ivy had dreamed of and nothing she'd expected. Her paintings lined pristine white walls, charcoal studies of light and shadow, portraits of strength and vulnerability, each piece telling stories of darkness transformed into beauty. Critics mingled with collectors. Champagne flowed. Success tasted sweeter than she'd imagined. But the best part? Enzo stood beside her, hand resting possessively on her waist, wearing a suit that made him look less like a mafia boss and more like the sophisticated businessman he was becoming. "That one's my favorite," he murmured, nodding toward a large canvas in the corner. Ivy smiled. It was him, a portrait from that first night, when he draped his coat over her shoulders and changed everything. She'd titled it Protection. "Mine too. Ivy." Mia waved from across the gallery, her new boyfriend, a accountant, blessedly normal, in tow. The Times critic wants an interview. Life had found its rhythm again. Mia had recovered, though she never asked about that night. Some truths were better left unspoken. She'd graduated, moved into a better apartment, financed by an anonymous donor, and slowly rebuilt her sense of safety. Ivy had done the same. Finished her degree. Pursued her art. Learned to exist in Enzo's world without losing herself. "Go." Enzo kissed her temple. "I'll handle the business types." She squeezed his hand and moved toward the interview, catching his reflection in the gallery window, watching her with an intensity that still made her pulse race. Later, after the crowds had thinned and the champagne had been drunk, they stood on the gallery balcony overlooking the city. "I have something for you," Enzo said quietly. He pulled out a small velvet box. Ivy's heart stopped. "Before you panic," he continued, opening it to reveal not a ring but a key, "it's not what you think. Though that's coming eventually." Ivy laughed, relief and disappointment warring. "What's the key for?" "A studio. 10 minutes from here. North-facing windows, perfect light, enough space for your next 100 paintings." His thumb traced her jaw. "I know you've been working in that cramped apartment. I thought, if you want, you could have somewhere that's just yours." Tears burned her eyes. "Enzo. You've given up so much to be with me. Your safety. Your anonymity. Your peace." His voice roughened. "Let me give you this. Let me support your dreams the way you've supported mine." "What dreams?" she teased gently. "Going legitimate?" He smiled. "Actually, yes." Ivy blinked. "What?" "Romano's testimony destroyed half the families in the city. The FBI's been cooperative since then. They've agreed to overlook certain past activities in exchange for information about trafficking routes we've helped dismantle." He shrugged. "Turns out being a monster has its uses when pointed at worse monsters. You're really doing this? Going straight?" "I'm trying." His hands framed her face. "For you. For the life we're building. I'll never be a good man, Ivy. My past is what it is. But I can be better. With you, I can be better." She kissed him then, soft and deep and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Enzo's expression had shifted to something nervous. Vulnerable. "There's one more thing." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a different box. This one, she recognized. Her breath caught. I know it's fast, Enzo said, opening it to reveal a ring, elegant, understated, perfect. I know we've only known each other 6 months. But I've lived 34 years without feeling what I feel with you. And I don't want to waste another day pretending I'll ever want anyone else. Ivy's vision blurred. Marry me, he continued. Not because of my world or your safety or any logical reason. Marry me because I love you. Because you saw the worst of me and stayed. Because every morning I wake up grateful you're still here. Yes. The word came out choked. Yes, of course yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, pulled her against him, and held her like she was the only thing anchoring him to earth. Below them, the city glittered, still dangerous, still complicated, but somehow less dark with them in it. I love you, Ivy whispered against his chest. Monster and all. Enzo's laugh was soft. Relieved. And I love you, cara mia. My salvation. My redemption. My entire world. They stood there as night deepened, two people who'd found each other in chaos and chosen love over fear, hope over despair, future over past. The girl who wore red to a gala. The man who threw his coat over her shoulders. And the life they'd build together, dangerous, beautiful, and entirely their own.